That bottle of honey in your pantry right now, the one with the cute bear shape, the one you've been drizzling on your toast and stirring into your tea because you thought you were choosing the natural, healthy option. Go grab it. I'll wait. Now try something. Put that jar in your refrigerator for 24 hours. Real honey will crystallize and turn thick, almost solid. Fake honey stays liquid and pourable, like syrup, because that's what it is. If your honey never crystallizes, never gets grainy, never changes texture, no matter how long you've had it, you're not eating honey. You're eating rice syrup with honey flavoring. Here's what happened. The global honey industry became one of the largest food fraud operations in history. Cheap rice syrup and corn syrup get blended with minimal real honey. The mixture is ultra-filtered to remove pollen, the only way to trace honey's origin. Then it's bottled with pictures of bees and wildflowers and sold at pure honey prices. They changed it. They didn't tell you. And they're charging you for something that might be 70% laboratory syrup. Welcome to The Label Changed, where we catch what brands hope you'll miss. Hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss an investigation. Today, we're exposing 10 honey brands that quietly compromised on purity, and then I'll reveal 4 brands that prove real honey still exists. Let's start the countdown. Number 10, great value. Starting at number 10, Walmart's house brand delivers exactly what you'd expect from a company optimizing for price above everything else. Great value, honey is sourced from whoever offers the cheapest product that month. China one shipment, Argentina the next, Vietnam after that. There's no consistency and no traceability. The supply chain is designed for cost efficiency, not quality verification. Food Safety News conducted landmark testing in 2011 with Vaughn Bryant, a professor at Texas A&M University and one of the nation's premier melissopollenologists, specialists who investigate pollen in honey. Bryant found that 76% of honey from grocery stores contained no pollen whatsoever. Big box stores like Walmart performed even worse at 77%. Without pollen, there's no way to verify where honey came from or whether it's real. Ultrafiltration removes the fingerprint. That's not accidental, that's deliberate. Great value, honey pours like syrup, thin and runny. Real honey has body and viscosity. It resists flowing. The texture alone tells you something is wrong with what's inside that bear-shaped bottle. Real American honey costs beekeepers $4 to $6 per pound to produce. Great value sells for under $3 at retail. The math only works if something else is in that bottle. You're paying honey prices for corn syrup economics. Number 9. Walgreens and CVS store brands. Drugstore honey earned a disturbing distinction in the Food Safety News investigation. 100% of honey samples from Walgreens, Rite Aid, and CVS contain no pollen at all. Not some, not most. Every single sample failed. That's not a coincidence. That's a supply chain optimized entirely for price, with zero regard for authenticity. Drugstore honey sits in the impulse purchase aisle, targeting customers who grab a bottle without thinking. The companies know these buyers won't investigate. They're counting on it. The FDA has stated clearly that honey without pollen cannot legally be called honey. Press officer Tamara Ward told Food Safety News directly, "The FDA does not consider ultra-filtered honey to be honey, yet these products sit on pharmacy shelves labeled as pure honey with no enforcement whatsoever. The FDA admits it checks less than 5% of imported honey shipments. You're buying from the most compromised category in the entire honey market. When every single tested sample fails basic authenticity standards, the product category itself is fraudulent." Drugstores are selling sugar syrup labeled as medicine cabinet wellness. The irony would be funny if it weren't so damaging. Number 8. Dutch Gold. Dutch Gold processes millions of pounds of honey annually at their Pennsylvania facility. That scale requires supply chain compromises that make purity verification nearly impossible. Dutch Gold sources from Argentina, Brazil, India, Vietnam, and other countries where honey fraud is endemic. Vietnamese honey in particular has been implicated in Chinese transshipment schemes, where banned Chinese honey gets routed through Vietnam to evade US restrictions and safety inspections. In the food safety news investigation, Dutch Gold's Vice President for Sales Jill Clark admitted that removing pollen keeps honey from crystallizing because American consumers prefer liquid honey. The company acknowledged filtering removes pollen but defended the practice as meeting consumer expectations. Consumers don't tend to like crystallized honey, Clark said. As soon as they see those first granules of crystallization, we get the phone calls. Here's the problem. Removing pollen serves the company's interests, not yours. It extends shelf life, prevents customer complaints about crystallization, and conveniently makes origin impossible to verification. When a company openly admits to removing the only way to trace their product's source, that tells you everything about their priorities. Mark Jensen, president of the American Honey Producers Association, put it bluntly, elimination of all pollen can only be achieved by ultrafiltering, and this filtration process does nothing but cost money and diminish the quality of the honey. In my judgment, it is pretty safe to assume that any ultra-filtered honey on store shelves is Chinese honey. Number 7. Miller's Honey. Miller's Honey was owned by GOEB Farms, the company at the center of the largest honey fraud prosecution in American history. In February 2013, the United States Department of Justice charged GOEB Farms with knowingly purchasing 1,578 container loads of illegally imported Chinese honey between 2008 and 2012. The scheme evaded over $78 million in anti-dumping tariffs that existed specifically because Chinese honey was being dumped at artificially low prices, undercutting American beekeepers. The honey was falsely labeled as coming from Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Prosecutors noted these were countries with virtually no commercial beekeeping operations. The paperwork was fabricated. The origin certificates were fraudulent. The entire supply chain was designed to launder Chinese honey into American grocery stores. Worse, some of this honey contained chloramphenicol, an antibiotic banned from food products in the United States because it is linked to a plastic anemia in humans. American consumers were unknowingly eating contaminated honey that had been deliberately mislabeled to avoid safety inspections. GOEB Farms paid a $2 million fine and entered a deferred prosecution agreement. The company later filed for bankruptcy in October 2013, but the Miller's brand continued, eventually sold to new ownership. The federal government called it Honeygate. When a brand's parent company admits to federal crimes involving contaminated honey, the trust is destroyed forever. Number 6. Winnie the Pooh Honey. The most beloved bear in children's literature became the face of compromised honey. Winnie the Pooh honey is produced by Honey Tree Inc. in Michigan and sold at Walmart stores nationwide. When Food Safety News sent samples to Professor Bryant's laboratory at Texas A&M, the analysis found the pollen had been completely removed from the honey inside that iconic bear-shaped container. Bob Olney of Honey Tree told Food Safety News they discontinued the practice, but the results speak for themselves. A product marketed specifically to families with children, using a character synonymous with wholesome innocence and simple pleasures, contained honey that couldn't be traced to any legitimate source. The Winnie the Pooh branding creates trust through childhood nostalgia. Parents see the familiar bear and remember reading those stories to their children. That emotional connection is being exploited to sell untraceable honey to families who believe they're making a safe, wholesome choice for their kids. Christopher Robin deserved better. So do your children. Number 5. Kirkland Signature. Costco's Kirkland brand applies the warehouse model to honey. Bulk purchasing in 3-pound jugs for value-conscious families. But honey doesn't survive supply chains built for toilet paper and laundry detergent. Food Safety News testing found that 77% of honey from big box stores like Costco had all pollen filtered out. The bulk model that delivers excellent value on paper towels creates serious problems for a perishable, fraud-prone product like honey. Costco's purchasing power means they demand the lowest prices from suppliers. Those suppliers meet cost demands through supply chain shortcuts that prioritize volume over verification. To fill those massive 3-pound jugs at Costco's target price points, packers need the cheapest possible honey from the most compromised global sources. That £3 jug seems like incredible value, but value requires actually getting what you paid for. When independent testing shows the majority of big box honey can't be verified as authentic, the per ounce savings become meaningless. You might be buying £2 of rice syrup blended with £1 of actual honey. That's not value, that's fraud at scale. The warehouse club model works brilliantly for commodities that don't degrade and can't be faked. Honey is neither of those things. Number 4. Store brand honey from major grocery chains. Kroger, Safeway, Publix, Target, Albertsons, Stop and Shop. They all follow identical playbooks. Source the cheapest honey that meets minimum legal requirements. Bottle it with pastoral imagery of bees and flowers and rolling meadows. Charge near premium prices based on consumer trust in the store name. Food Safety News found that 76% of honey from grocery store shelves had all pollen removed. The brands varied, but the results were remarkably consistent. The vast majority of store brand honey cannot be traced to any verified source. Without pollen, there's no way to know if the label is truthful or completely fabricated. Store brand honey sits at the intersection of maximum fraud incentive and minimum verification. Retailers don't produce honey, they don't maintain beekeeper relationships, they don't operate testing laboratories. They contract with the lowest bidding packer, who contracts with the lowest bidding importer, who contracts with whoever has cheap product available. Each intermediary has incentive to cut costs and ask as few questions as possible. The economics are brutally simple. Store brands need to undercut name brands on price. Real honey has a floor price based on production costs that can't be wished away. Something has to give. It's always quality and authenticity. Number 3. Honey from McDonald's, KFC and Smucker's packets. The individual honey packets you grab at fast food restaurants represent the absolute bottom of the honey quality spectrum. Food Safety News tested honey packets from McDonald's, KFC and Smucker's individual servings. 100% had all pollen removed. Not most, not the majority. Every single sample failed basic authenticity standards. These packets are designed for maximum cost efficiency at industrial scale. They need to survive months in unrefrigerated storage, withstand temperature fluctuations during shipping, and cost fractions of a penny per serving. The mathematics of fast food supply chains make authentic honey impossible at those requirements and price points. The packets are designed to be grabbed without thinking, torn open without reading, and consumed without questioning. That's exactly what the suppliers are counting on. When you tear open that little plastic packet for your biscuit or chicken nuggets, you're consuming a product that cannot be legally verified as honey. The convenience is real. The honey almost certainly isn't. Number 2. Honey labeled from countries with no beekeeping industry. Federal investigators uncovered a systematic scheme to launder Chinese honey through countries that barely produce any honey at all. According to court documents from Honeygate, honey was routed through Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Mongolia, and Thailand. Prosecutors specifically noted these were countries with virtually no commercial beekeeping operations. Yet suddenly, these nations were exporting millions of pounds of honey to the United States at prices that undercut American producers who actually keep bees. Industry expert Jill Clark described the phenomenon to investigators. They saw a flurry of honey starting to come into the US from countries that had never exported to the US before. All of a sudden, they had millions of pounds of honey to sell at very cheap prices. The honey didn't materialize from nowhere. It came from China and took a detour through countries willing to provide false paperwork. If your honey label claims origin from a country without significant beekeeping traditions and infrastructure, that is a major red flag. The honey probably started in China, where it may have been adulterated with rice syrup or contaminated with banned antibiotics, then traveled through one or more intermediary countries specifically to avoid tariffs and safety inspections designed to protect American consumers. Number 1. Any honey in a plastic squeeze bear. Taking the number 1 spot as the most likely honey to be adulterated, honey sold in those iconic squeeze bear bottles regardless of what brand name appears on the label. The squeeze bear has become the universal symbol of honey fraud, not because of the shape itself, but because of what that shape signals about quality priorities and target consumers. Bear bottles are designed for impulse purchases by price-sensitive families. They need to cost under $5 to move volume at grocery stores and big box retailers. That price requirement drives every sourcing decision backward through the supply chain toward the cheapest possible product from the most compromised sources. Food safety news testing found that honey from big box stores and drugstores, where squeeze bears dominate the shelves, had the highest rates of pollen removal in the entire study. The correlation is clear. Bear-shaped packaging correlates with the lowest quality, least verifiable honey in the American market. The bear shape has become a red flag for informed consumers. When a product needs cute packaging, nostalgic associations, and rock-bottom pricing to sell, something is being hidden inside that plastic bear. The adorable shape is disguising an ugly truth. If there's a squeeze bear in your pantry right now, the crystallization test will tell you the truth. Put it in the refrigerator tonight. Real honey thickens and crystallizes within 24 to 48 hours. Rice syrup and corn syrup stay liquid and pourable. You'll have your answer by tomorrow morning. But here's the good news. Real honey still exists. These 4 brands prove you can buy authentic honey from sources that prioritize purity over profit margins. Number 4. Bee Harmony. Bee Harmony entered the market specifically because the founders were disgusted by widespread honey fraud. Every jar includes a QR code linking to detailed origin information, including harvest location and timing. That traceability isn't marketing gimmick, it's accountability that fraudulent suppliers can't match. The company uses True Source certification, an independent program launched in 2011 by a coalition of American honey producers and importers, specifically because honey fraud had become so widespread that the industry needed rigorous self-policing. True Source verifies supply chain integrity through audits, documentation review, and testing protocols. Bee Harmony. Honey crystallizes naturally because that's what real honey does when it hasn't been ultra-filtered or adulterated. The texture varies by floral source, which reflects the natural variation you should expect from an authentic agricultural product. That variation is authenticity, not inconsistency. Available online and in select natural food retailers nationwide. The price is higher than squeeze bears because real honey costs more than rice syrup. Number 3. Really Raw Honey. Really Raw has operated in Baltimore since 1972, making it one of the oldest continuously operating raw honey companies in America. Their founding principle hasn't changed in 50 years. Don't process what the bees made. Their honey is never heated, never filtered, never blended with honey from unknown sources. Open a jar and you'll see the difference immediately. Cappings, wax, and pollen visible on the surface. Thick, spreadable texture that requires a knife rather than pouring. Natural crystallization into a creamy consistency over time. This is what honey looked like for thousands of years before industrial processing convinced Americans that honey should be clear and pourable like corn syrup. Really, raw sources from American beekeepers through relationships built over decades of consistent quality. The taste is complex and varies by season and floral source, exactly what authentic honey should do. Spring honey tastes different from fall honey. That's not inconsistency, that's reality. The appearance might seem unusual if you're accustomed to crystal clear squeeze bear honey. That unusual appearance is actually what authentic, unprocessed honey looks like. The squeeze bear trained you to expect something artificial. Number 2. Local beekeepers at farmers markets. The safest honey comes from beekeepers you can actually meet, question, and hold accountable. Farmers markets. Local apiaries. Regional producers who put their name, face, and reputation on every jar they sell. When you buy from someone who owns the hives and tends the bees, supply chain fraud becomes physically impossible. There are no importers secretly blending in rice syrup, no anonymous packers removing pollen to hide geographic origin. No international supply chains with multiple intermediaries and opportunities for adulteration at every step. Just bees, a beekeeper who knows them, and a jar. Ask questions when you buy. How many hives do you keep? What flowers do your bees forage in this area? When was this specific batch harvested? How do you extract and bottle it? Real beekeepers love these conversations because they're genuinely proud of their craft and eager to educate consumers. Commodity packers have nothing to say because they don't know anything about where their product actually came from or how it was processed before it reached them. Local honey costs more than supermarket squeeze bears because real beekeeping is genuinely expensive, labor-intensive work. That higher price reflects authentic production costs, not marketing markup. When someone charges $8 to $15 per pound, they might actually be selling real honey. When someone charges $3 for a plastic bear, they definitely aren't. Number 1. Honey with published third-party NMR test results. Taking the top spot as the gold standard for verified authentic honey, any brand that publishes nuclear magnetic resonance test results proving purity. NMR testing represents the cutting edge of honey fraud detection. The technology analyzes honey at the molecular level, creating a chemical fingerprint that can identify rice syrup, corn syrup, beet sugar, cane sugar, and other adulterants that simpler testing methods miss entirely. NMR can also verify geographic origin by comparing samples to a database of over 18,000 authenticated honey samples maintained by the Honey Profiling Consortium. Sweetwater Science in Missouri operates the only NMR honey testing laboratory currently active in the United States. Brands serious about proving authenticity send samples to labs like this and publish the results. The investment in testing makes a statement. This company has nothing to hide and everything to prove. Look for brands that specifically mention NMR testing, Sweetwater Science certification, or detailed laboratory analysis on their websites or packaging. If they've invested in rigorous testing, they'll prominently tell you about it because it differentiates them from competitors. Silence about testing methods usually means no meaningful testing was performed. Vague claims about quality standards without specific methodologies mean nothing. The brands willing to prove their purity through the most rigorous available testing are the brands that deserve your trust and your money. So what do you do with this information? First, do the crystallization test tonight. Real honey crystallizes in the refrigerator within 24 to 48 hours. Adulterated honey stays liquid and pourable. This single free test catches most fraud without requiring any laboratory equipment. Second, look for visible pollen. Raw, unfiltered honey contains visible particles suspended in the honey. Without pollen, origin claims are completely unverifiable and should be treated with extreme skepticism. Third, check for meaningful certifications. True source certification and published NMR test results indicate actual purity verification with accountability. Generic claims about quality and purity without specific testing methodologies mean nothing. Fourth, buy from traceable sources whenever possible. Single origin honey from identifiable beekeepers with verifiable locations is dramatically safer than anonymous blends from multiple countries processed through opaque supply chains. Fifth, expect to pay $8 to $15 per pound for authentic honey. If you're paying $3 for a squeeze bear, you're buying syrup. The economics don't work any other way. American beekeepers cannot produce real honey for less than $4 per pound. Anyone selling significantly cheaper is selling something other than pure honey, regardless of what the label claims. The product's changed, but you don't have to accept the fraud. Every time you choose verified honey over commodity blends, you vote with your wallet. You support real beekeepers doing honest work. You reject the systematic fraud that has corrupted an entire global industry. If you learned something today, subscribe to The Label Changed and hit the notification bell. Share this with someone who deserves to know what they're actually putting in their tea and drizzling on their toast. New investigations drop every week. The Label Changed. Now you know how to read it.